My girlfriend demanded I buy her a $12,000 Birkin bag. I said good point, and bought one, for my sister instead. I'm Ryder, 31 male, work in IT support for a logistics company here in Denver. Been dating my girlfriend Lena, 26 female, for about 18 months now. She works retail at this boutique downtown, but her income is pretty inconsistent since it's commission-based. Here's the thing. I make decent money, around 65–70K. Nothing crazy but stable, and I've been covering most of our date expenses. Like 70–80% of everything we do together. I figured it was fine since I make more and wanted us to have good times. Lena's actually pretty great in a lot of ways. She's funny, ambitious about her career, and genuinely cares about looking good. But lately, there's been this shift. She started following these luxury lifestyle accounts and talking about investment pieces and how successful couples elevate each other. I could see she was feeling insecure about her income compared to mine. 3 days ago, she texts me this long message about finding an amazing deal on a second-hand Birkin for $12,000. Yeah, $12,000. For a purse. She goes on about how it's smart financially because they hold value, and how she's been such a good girlfriend, and basically how I should buy it for her since her birthday is coming up. Honestly, I just stared at my phone for 20 minutes. Part of me was pissed that she'd assume I'd dropped that kind of money. Part of me felt guilty because I do make more. And part of me was confused about how we got to this place. I didn't know what to say, so I replied, "Good point." Looking back, that was probably the worst possible response. I wasn't agreeing to buy it. I was just trying to buy time to figure out how I felt. But I can see how she might have taken it differently. The thing is, I'd been thinking about my sister Mira lately. She's 24, in grad school, and during COVID she basically kept me afloat for 6 months when I was unemployed. Helped with rent, groceries, car payment. Never asked for anything back. Don't get me wrong, Mira's not perfect. She can be judgmental about people she thinks are fake, and she's made comments about Lena's Instagram posts. But when I was at my lowest point, she showed up without being asked. So yesterday, I went to that consignment shop Lena told me about. Bought the exact same Birkin bag she wanted. Drove straight to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. I hand Mira this fancy shopping bag. She opens it and gets this worried look, asking how much I spent. My mom immediately goes into mom mode, asking if I'm having money problems again. My dad's reaction is, "Jesus Christ, Ryder, what did you do?" When I explain about wanting to pay her back for COVID, his expression softens. Mira keeps asking if I'm sure, if I can really afford it, if this is because Lena's been pressuring me. She knows me too well. Mira posts a simple Instagram story later, just her with the bag and, blessed beyond words. Classy, no showing off. Guess who saw it? Phone starts blowing up around 11 p.m. Lena calling over and over. Text after text. 47 missed calls and counting. Messages start normal. "Wait, is that the bag I showed you?" Then get progressively unhinged. Late into the night, she's sending paragraphs about how I betrayed her and led her on. Apparently, she already told her friends I was getting her the bag. I finally answer one of her calls in the early morning hours, and she's screaming about how I humiliated her. I try to explain I never agreed to buy her anything, that this was from Mira, way before she mentioned wanting a Birkin. She hangs up, immediately calls back. This goes on until dawn. Woke up to 73 text messages wanting to talk in person and figure this out like adults. The more I think about it, the more I realize I've been seeing red flags I ignored. The entitlement. The expectation that I should drop 12 grand on someone I've been dating less than 2 years. The fact that she told people before even asking me properly. My sister earned that bag. Lena thinks 18 months of dating is worth the same investment. Update 1. After I posted, I decided to meet with Lena to handle this like adults. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Coffee shop near her work, Tuesday afternoon. Public place, middle of the day. What could go wrong? The conversation started civil enough. I explained again that I never promised anything, that the bag was always intended for my sister, and that her reaction was really concerning to me. That's when things took a turn into crazy town. Turns out, Lena had been telling her friends for weeks that I was buying her a Birkin. Not just mentioning it, full-on bragging about it. She told them I make 6 figures, I don't, that I was probably going to propose soon, and that I'd already picked out a ring. None of this is true, like not even close. When I pointed out that she basically made up an entire fantasy about our relationship, she doubled down. Started crying in the coffee shop about how I led her on, and how she's been planning her whole outfit around that bag for her friend's wedding next month. I'm sitting there like, outfit around a bag? For a wedding that's a month away? This woman had already mentally spent money that was never hers on a bag I never offered to buy, for an event where she wanted to show off to people. But wait, it gets better. She starts demanding that I make this right, since she's already committed to having the bag. You need to buy me the same bag, or just give me the money so I can get it myself, she says, like it's the most reasonable thing in the world. Absolutely not, I told her. That's when she lost it. Fine, I'm going to expose you on social media for being a manipulative liar. I ended the conversation there and left. Thought that was the end of it. Wednesday morning, I'm at work debugging some server issues when our receptionist calls my extension. Ryder, there's someone here demanding to see you. She seems upset. My blood runs cold. I look through the office window and see Lena in our lobby, pacing around with her phone out. She's recording herself talking about how she's there to confront her lying boyfriend and how she's not leaving until she gets answers. Our building has pretty good security, thankfully. I called down and explained the situation. Security approached her, asked her to leave, and she completely lost it. Started yelling about how I stole her bag and how I was hiding behind corporate security like a coward. They escorted her out. The whole thing was captured on our lobby cameras. My boss called me into his office later that day, not to reprimand me, but to make sure I was okay and ask if I needed help with anything. Super embarrassing, but at least my coworkers were cool about it. That evening, the calls started again. But this time it wasn't just Lena. Her mom called me. Her mom. This 50-something woman I've met exactly 3 times, screaming at me about how I played with her daughter's emotions and demanding I do right by her. When I tried to explain the situation, she cut me off and said Lena had showed her all our text messages and that it was obvious I had promised the bag. I asked her to show me exactly where I promised anything. She couldn't, but kept insisting the intent was clear. Then comes the real kicker. Yesterday morning, I find an envelope taped to my apartment door. Handwritten letter from Lena, 4 pages long. I'm talking single-spaced, front and back, like a manifesto. The letter is, wow. It's demanding $10,000 in compensation for emotional distress and public humiliation. She calculated this amount based on therapy costs, the value of gifts she should have received, and reputational damage. Reputational damage from a bag she never owned, that I never gave her, that she told people about before it existed. The letter ends with a deadline. Resolve this by Friday, or I'll have no choice but to take further action to protect my interests. I screenshotted everything and sent it to my sister, just to make sure I wasn't overreacting. Mira called me immediately. Dude, she said, this woman is unhinged. You need to document everything and maybe talk to someone about a restraining order. The thing is, my sister hasn't even used the bag yet. She's been so worried it would cause drama that she's kept it in the box. I told her absolutely not. That bag was a gift from me to her, and she shouldn't feel guilty about someone else's insanity. So that's where we are now. I've been documenting everything, staying at a friend's place for a few days just to be safe, and trying to figure out my next move. The crazy part is that I genuinely thought Lena was a decent person. Sure, she was materialistic, but I figured that was just her being young and influenced by social media. I never imagined she was capable of this level of manipulation and entitlement. Looking back at our relationship with this new perspective, I'm seeing so many red flags I ignored. The way she'd pout when I couldn't afford expensive restaurants, how she'd joke about me not spoiling her enough, the passive-aggressive comments when I'd buy my family gifts. Update 2. Last Saturday evening, I'm home watching Netflix when someone starts pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding, like police raid-style banging. I look through the peephole and see 3 people I don't recognize. I don't open the door, but I hear Lena's voice from the hallway. "I know you're in there, Ryder. My mom just wants to talk to you." Her mom. Plus what looked like her older brother and maybe an uncle. All standing in my hallway at 8 p.m. on a Saturday, looking like they're ready to collect a debt. Lena's mom starts shouting through the door about how I've destroyed her daughter's reputation and how they're not leaving until this gets resolved. The brother is filming everything on his phone, while Lena is crying and talking about getting justice. I called 911, told them I had multiple people harassing me outside my apartment, that one of them had been stalking me, and that I felt threatened. The cops showed up in about 10 minutes. I could hear the conversation through my door. Lena's family trying to convince the officers that I had stolen money from her and that they just wanted to mediate the situation. When the cops asked for proof of this theft, apparently Lena started showing them our old text messages, trying to argue that "good point" constituted a verbal contract. One of the officers actually laughed, which set off her brother, who started getting aggressive with them. Long story short, they all got trespassed from my building, and Lena got a formal warning about harassment. The officers came up to talk to me afterward, and I showed them the demand letter and documented all the previous incidents. That's when Officer Martinez said something that blew my mind. "You know, this is the second time this month we've had a call about this same girl. Turns out, 3 weeks ago, they responded to a similar situation involving Lena and a guy named Derek. Apparently, she'd been dating him while also dating me, overlap of about 2 months based on the timeline. And when he wouldn't buy her concert tickets to some festival, she accused him of stealing her money, too. Derek had been giving her cash for various emergencies, car repairs, rent help, medical bills. When he found out she was seeing someone else, me, and cut her off financially, she demanded $3,000 in compensation for emotional damages and breach of trust. The officer couldn't give me Derek's contact info, but he suggested I might want to consider a restraining order given the pattern of behavior. Plot twist gets better. Tuesday morning, I get a Facebook message from a guy I don't know named Derek. Apparently, he'd asked around and figured out I was the other boyfriend from the police report. We met for coffee, and holy shit, the stories this guy has. Lena had been telling him she was taking a break from dating to focus on herself while actively pursuing me. She was getting money from him for emergencies while asking me to pay for our dates because she was temporarily broke. But here's the really insane part. She asked him to buy her jewelry for her sister's wedding, around the same time she was asking me for the Birkin. When he said he couldn't afford it, she started the same manipulation tactics. Crying, guilt trips, accusations of not caring about her. Derek said he felt like an idiot for not seeing it sooner, but that her neediness seemed genuine at first. She'd create these elaborate sob stories about family emergencies or work problems, and he'd help because he thought he was being a good boyfriend. Apparently, after the cops talked to her family, word got around her social circle about what happened. Derek said several of her friends reached out to him, asking if the stories about me abusing her were true. When he told them what really happened, a few of them admitted they'd suspected she was lying about various things for months. One friend said Lena had been showing off photos with Birkin bags before I even bought one for my sister, claiming she already owned designer bags and posting outfit of the day pics. Apparently, she was borrowing display bags from her work to take fake photos. The most bizarre part? She never actually wanted to use the bag. It was all about having the image of owning it, the social media clout, the ability to humble brag to her friends. Derek and I compared notes and realized she'd been running the same scams on both of us, just with different price points, testing how much she could extract from each relationship. Yesterday, I got a call from my sister. Someone had been calling her work asking questions about her and the stolen designer bag she'd been posting about. Mira works at a small nonprofit, and they were confused because someone claiming to be conducting a fraud investigation Wanted to verify if she'd really received an expensive gift. That was my breaking point. Going after my family? My sister who never asked for any of this drama? Absolutely fucking not. This morning I filed for a formal restraining order. Derek is going to be a witness. I've got documentation of everything. The work incident, the family showing up, the demand letters, her attempts to contact my sister's workplace. My lawyer said it's a pretty clear-cut case of harassment, and that attempting to interfere with family members' employment could escalate things to criminal charges. The restraining order hearing is next week. Honestly, I just want this woman out of my life completely. Final update. The restraining order got approved. Lena didn't show up to contest it, which meant the judge only heard our side of the story. Derek testified about the pattern of financial manipulation, and I presented all the evidence we'd gathered. Judge granted a 1-year protection order after reviewing everything. 2 days after the order went through, I get an email. 4 paragraphs, single-spaced, from Lena's personal Gmail. Subject line, "I owe you an apology." The email was complicated to read. She admitted to allowing my emotions to override my judgment and acknowledged that her behavior was completely inappropriate. Said she'd been in therapy since the police incident and was beginning to understand how her material fixations had become unhealthy. But honestly, parts of it still felt kind of manipulative, like when she mentioned how her reputation has been damaged and how she's lost friendships over misunderstandings. It wasn't quite taking full responsibility, more like explaining why her actions were understandable given her circumstances. She did admit to the financial stuff with Derek and said she was working to make amends with everyone she'd hurt. But then she also talked about how social media culture and pressure to present a certain image contributed to her problems, which felt like deflecting blame. The email ended with her saying she wouldn't contact me again and hoped I could find peace with the situation. Whether that was genuine remorse or just trying to look good for legal reasons, I honestly can't tell. I saved the email but didn't respond. My lawyer advised against any contact, even to acknowledge the apology. Derek's been keeping me updated on the social fallout, and Lena's friend group basically imploded. When word got around, several people came forward with their own stories. Remember that wedding she was planning her outfit around the bag for? She wasn't even invited. Had been telling people for months she was in the bridal party, but the bride never asked her. Her work situation also went to shit. Apparently, she'd been calling out sick to take Instagram photos around town, pretending to have this luxurious lifestyle. Her manager finally put 2 and 2 together when she kept posting stories during her sick days. She got written up and eventually quit rather than face potential termination. As for me, life's been normal. I started seeing a therapist too, mainly to process how I missed so many red flags. Turns out I have people-pleasing tendencies that made me vulnerable to this manipulation. Work's been okay, though the incident left me feeling embarrassed for a while. My boss was understanding, but it's not the kind of attention you want at work. My sister's been doing well, though she's still weird about the bag. Uses it sometimes but seems uncomfortable, like she's worried people think she's showing off. She got some side-eye from classmates who know her financial situation. Sometimes I wonder if I handled it wrong from the beginning. Maybe if I'd been clearer instead of saying, "Good point," none of this would have escalated. But someone asking for a $12,000 gift after 18 months was already a red flag.